Macbeth has always been regarded as an unlucky play, but no performance was more ill-starred than the one that took place at the Astor Opera House in Manhattan on May 10th, 1849. The English actor William Macready, engaged in a bitter rivalry with the American actor Ned Forrest, had met with harassment throughout his tour of the States, but when he reached New York, the mob's hostility, fueled by local city politics, boiled over. Here is an account.
The play began. I was called, and at my cue went on with full assurance, confidence, and cheerfulness. My reception was very enthusiastic, but I soon discovered that there was opposition. I went right on when I found that it would not instantly be quelled, looking at the wretched creatures in the parquet, who shook their fists violently at me and called out to me in savage fury. My first, second, third scenes passed over rapidly and unheard. At the end of the fourth, one of the officers gave a signal. The police rushed in at two of the sides of the parquet, closed in upon the scoundrels occupying the central seats, and furiously vociferating and gesticulating, and seemed to lift them or bundle them in a body out of the centre of the house, amid the cheers of the audience. I was in the act of making my exit with Lady Macbeth, and stopped to witness this clever manoeuvre, which, like a coup de main, swept the place clear at once. As well as I can remember, the bombardment outside now began. Stones were hurled against the windows in 8th Street, smashing many. The work of destruction became then more systematic. The volleys of stones flew without intermission, battering and smashing all before them. The gallery and upper gallery still kept up the din within, aided by the crashing of glass and boarding without. Mr. Povey, as I was going to my raised seat in the banquet scene, came up to me, and in an undertone and much frightened, urged me to cut out some part of the play and bring it to a close. I turned round to him and said that I had consented to do this thing, and whatever the consequences, I must go through with it. The audience had paid for so much, and the law compelled me to give it. They would have cause for riot if it were not all properly done. I was angry and spoke very sharply. The banquet scene was partially heard and applauded. I went down to change my dress. The battering at the building, doors and windows growing louder and louder. The fourth act passed. Louder and more fierce waxed the furious noises against the building. For whenever a missile did effectual mischief in its discharge, it was hailed with shouts outside. Stones came in through the windows, and one struck the chandelier. The audience moved for protection behind the walls. The house was considerably thinned, gaps of unoccupied seats appearing in the audience part. The fifth act was heard, and in the very spirit of resistance, I flung my whole soul into every word I uttered, acting my very best and exciting the audience to a sympathy even with the glowing words of fiction, whilst these dreadful deeds of real crime and outrage were roaring in our ears. The death of Macbeth was loudly cheered, and on being lifted up and told that I was called, I went on, and with action earnestly and most emphatically expressive of my feelings of gratefulness to them, I quitted the New York stage among the acclamations of those before me. Going to my room, I began without loss of time to undress, but with no feeling of fear or apprehension. When washed and half-dressed, people came into my room, consternation on the faces of some, fear, anxiety, and distress on those of others. Suddenly we heard a volley of musketry. "Hark, what's that?" I asked. "The soldiers have fired." "My God," I exclaimed. Another volley and another. The question amongst those surrounding me was which way was I to go out. News came that several were killed. They set someone to reconnoitre, and I went out, following Robert Emmet to the stage door. All was clear in front, kept so by 2 cordons or lines of police at either end of the building. We passed the line near Broadway and went on threading the excited crowd till we passed the street leading down to the New York Hotel. I then said, "Are you going to your own house?" "Yes." We reached it, and closing the door after us, he said, "You are safe here. You may depend upon us all in this house." Emmet went upstairs to lie down, which I declined to do, and went down into the comfortable office below before a good fire, and by the help of a cigar to count the slow hours until 4 o'clock. I listened to the sounds of the night and thought of home, and what would be the anguish of heart there if I fell in this brutal outbreak. The clock struck 4. Emmet came down. We were on the move. All was still in the dawn of morning, but we waited some 10 minutes. Age of suspense. The carriage arrived. I shook the hand of my preserver and friend, and stepping into the carriage, a covered phaeton, we turned up Fifth Avenue and were on our way to safety.